Hey, everybody. Welcome to Keep It Spiritually Simple. I'm your host, Sandra McGullis, and boy, do we have a treat today. I've got Pia and Cullen, this amazing married couple that, well, they're spiritual teachers, they're authors, they're mentors, and they just live and breathe everything that you want to embody spiritually. And yet they're raw and real and easy to talk to. And if you didn't know what they did for a living, you would just say, oh, they're just great neighbors. We love them. But when you get really deep, boy, do we get deep. So today I'd like to proudly welcome this couple that I met in Sedona last month, Cullen and Pia. Welcome to Keep It Spiritually Simple. How are you?
Thank you, Sandra. We're great and delighted to be here.
And we really, absolutely are completely interested in talking about anything that has to do with evolution, growth, expansion.
But for those people that you said would think we were just good neighbors, a large part of our life we spent doing professional careers, even though we were also involved in the world we're involved in now. I practiced as a clinical psychologist and an alternative health doctor.
My early training is in anthropology and archaeology. So we both came from professional backgrounds before we began the work that we've been doing for the last almost 3 decades. So it's been an interesting ride for us.
Well, it must be, I know you guys had, visitation, channeling, information coming through. Now, at some point, somewhere in your individual life growing up, did you have any inkling that there was just something more spiritually beyond what our basic religion and our standard life of grade school, junior high school, college, this is what we do with our life?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. We had, go ahead.
I was going to say, people talk about when they wake up, when their awakening was, and Cullen and I sort of feel like we had our eyes open and we were born awake because we knew this before we could talk. We knew.
We had really quite unusual childhoods. We were talking to other realms, other dimensional beings when we were small children. We talked to the fairy kingdom. We talked to the David kingdom.
The little people.
The little people.
Angelics.
We were talking to interstellar beings.
Mm-hmm.
So when LAARKMAA introduced themselves to us a long time ago, it wasn't really a big surprise to us. It wasn't like an aha moment, like, oh my God, what's happening? It was just another level of being able to communicate with non-human, other species energies. So we've actually been at this our whole lives.
It was almost when LAARKMAA came through like, hello, who are you and how can we help?
I'm like just a voice for both of you?
Well, when they first started coming into us, they gave us little energetic signals all around where we were living. We'd see things, water being turned on in a faucet, shoes being placed in a different direction, a chair being moved, things of movement, that footsteps we could hear, lights on and off, all kinds of things that didn't feel like a poltergeist. It felt like there's an energy that's actually here that's trying to get our attention.
So it was pretty interesting when they first started contacting us. The actual real connection happened in a very, very funny and strange way. We were celebrating one of my birthdays. This was a long time ago, decades ago. And Pia had prepared a birthday dinner for me. We were eating dinner. We were living at a really, really remote, high elevation place. We were living at about 10,000 feet in a valley, and we had no TV reception, no radio reception, no cell phone reception, no landline. We had nothing that we could connect with the outer world except one thing, a shortwave radio, a really powerful very sophisticated shortwave radio. So that was our only way of communicating with the outer world. We listened to the BBC and we listened to stations from all over the world. Well, on that evening, during dinner, the shortwave radio turned itself on all by itself.
We got up and looked at the clock, and it was exactly the hour and minute of Cullen's birth time, which we noted and thought, that's interesting. Turned the radio off.
Went back, finished dinner. We looked at each other and went, that was kind of strange, wasn't it? So we finished dinner. We went to bed. The next night, exactly at the same time, guess what? The shortwave radio turned itself on again, all by itself.
This went on for about a week, and we kept moving the radio to different outlets, thinking maybe it had a short. And finally, we unplugged it altogether. And on the night when it turned itself on and it was unplugged, we got up and walked and stood in the living room where it was and said, okay, who are you? How can we help?
And we started getting thought form, I guess what we would call telepathic messages. It wasn't verbal. We weren't hearing it in our ears, but we were getting these messages. And we would look at each other and say, I just got this phenomenal piece of information. And the other one would look at the other one of us and say, I got exactly the same message.
So we realized that we were simultaneously receiving their transmission. So we started speaking it out loud so that we could capture everything they said. And they were giving us binary systems, advanced technology, medical information, all kinds of information so quickly that we tried to take notes and we couldn't keep up. Eventually, we got smart enough to start recording it, to record what they said.
And at that point, we were speaking simultaneously because the way we do what we do, we're a little bit unique. We have to be touching in order to have this information come through us. And what LAARKMAA told us at the very, very beginning was, we've chosen you because you're male and female, because your personalities are so diametrically opposite of each other. I mean, we are really, really different in our outlook about life. However, our understanding of the big cosmic picture, our understanding of love are identical. We're a complete sync in that sense. But the way we see the world is really different. I'm very visual.
LAARKMAA likes to describe it and say that I bring everything from the inside out, and Cullen collects the information from the outside and brings it in. So our perspectives are directed like that, which is a beautiful way for us to share perspectives and have greater understanding.
So they said, that is why we've chosen you to be our spokespeople, because you cancel out anything that one of you might have an opinion, a belief system. Because we use the libraries of both of your minds to bring what we want to speak to humanity, you will cancel out anything that one of you thinks isn't right, or you would prefer to change what we're saying. And so it's an amazing thing because we're male, female, we're different, and
We hear the same messages.
we get the same messages. So go ahead.
We eventually, at LAARKMAA's request, started bringing their wisdom to the public. And we would do, as Cullen just said, speak simultaneously. But people were doing this back and forth, and they were so focused on who was speaking, they were missing the message. So LAARKMAA said, let's change this up.
So we chose one of us would speak at one presentation, and then the next time we would do it, the other one would speak. And then finally, some years later, they said, let's just have one of you speak.
For consistency.
So they said, Cullen, we don't want to hurt your feelings, but Pia's voice is a little bit more gentle and a little bit more aligned with how we communicate. They don't have a verbal language like we do. They communicate telepathically, heart to heart, with musical and mathematical tones. And Pia has more of a musical voice than I do. So for the past some years, when we're speaking in public or when we're presenting, Pia is the speaker. But people think I'm just sitting there grounding or just sitting there, and I'm not, because
It doesn't come through.
it has to come
him.
through both of us simultaneously.
Well, that's pretty unique and powerful, but it also brings me to the question that this was all pre-designed.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
We have been in teamwork with LAARKMAA for multiple lifetimes. This is not the first experience we've had. We have had multiple experiences with them in different epochs, different ages. So this is a continuation of something we've been doing for a very long time.
So how did you guys meet? So, when some people meet, they'll just know, right? And other people will meet and there's like fire and fire. And then eventually, a little water comes in and, oh, wow, we actually are compatible. But how did you guys meet that be like, I don't know, like like this is your person that you're going to be walking with for decades because there's a purpose behind it.
We would say we were one of the ones who instantly knew, but our story is a little bit unique. I had been on a healing retreat doing some Ayurvedic panchakarma clearing that is a good way to detox and when you're too busy in life. And I stopped over to visit with a friend, and my friend said, why don't you just stay the night and rest because it's a long drive home, because I was in a different state. And I said, sure. And my friend said, while you're here, why don't you walk up this next street next over and go to the gallery? And I said, the gallery. And he said, yes. Then I said, okay. Well, I started walking and I discovered I was on the street of multiple galleries. They were everywhere. I was in Santa Fe on the Gallery Drive, but I was riveted to one particular shop for some reason. And I went up and I was just looking in the window, and I thought, I need to go in there, but they're closed.
So I was taking a break from my professional life. A friend of mine wanted to open an art gallery, and he didn't really know how to do it. And I had owned businesses and invented businesses and done all kinds of things in the business world separate from my professional career. And I said, let's do this together. I'll help you do this. So we opened the gallery, and I was looking outside. It was past closing time. It was like 7 or 7:30 at night. And I saw this woman peering in the window, and the man that actually owned the gallery said, there's someone out there. Go unlock the door and invite them in. And I said, no, I'm tired. I need to meditate or take a break or eat or go for a walk. I needed to do something. He said, no, go open the door. And I took the keys that I had already locked the door. I threw them at him across the gallery. And I said, if you want to do this, you do this. I'm done. He threw the keys back at me and said, you need to open the door.
Which Cullen tells me was fairly unusual for him.
He was forceful and not his normal self. I threw up my hands and said, okay. I opened the door. I peered out and I said, hi, would you like to come in? And she said, no, I can see you're closed. I said, it's okay. You're welcome to come in. So she kind of sheepishly came into the building, and I locked the door behind her because I didn't want anybody else to come in, because I didn't want to be taking care of the whole world at that point. So I followed her around for 45 minutes. She looked at everything. This was not a modern art gallery. This was a Native American antiquities gallery. It was filled with incredible relics, rugs, rattles, all kinds of beautiful antique Native American material.
So after 45 minutes, I figured he's been so patient and they've opened up when they were closed, I should buy something. So I had focused in on these beautiful little hand-woven, gorgeous baskets. They had large ones, small ones, all different kinds. And I was focused on getting one of the smaller ones to take home with me. And so I was looking at the case and I had selected two. And I looked at Cullen and said, which one would you choose? And he said, well, I would choose this one because of this, this, and this. And I said, okay, I'll take the other one. It was the beginning of our oppositeness, the absolutely beginning of seeing, oh, we're going to always see things from a different perspective, although we didn't recognize it in that moment. So
She picked it out. I said, let me wrap this up. Let me put tissue around it. I'll put it in a gift box. And I did that. And the owner of the gallery was kind of watching us in and out. And he was like staring at us. And I did something really funny. I didn't explain this to Pia at the time, but I only charged her half price, the wholesale price of this item, to get back at the guy that made me open the door so she could come in. And he didn't even know what I was doing until later, days later. But it was one of those things where we knew immediately that we had an energy that needed to be combined.
there was electricity coming off the counter when we were standing there looking at the baskets. And after Cullen had wrapped up and given me my purchase, I said, do you want to go for a walk?
And I was like, in my mind, I was telling myself, you just spent another hour beyond your capability of being out here and social and in the public. I didn't even hesitate. I said, yes, let's go for a walk. So it was a new moon. It was about 8 o'clock. It was getting dark. And we walked and walked and walked. And then we ended up at the meditation center where she was going to be staying overnight. And we sat at a picnic table and we talked way into the night.
And when we parted ways, which was extremely hard for both of us, Cullen said, I don't do emails, but I will write you a letter. And I said, me too. Give me your address and write to me and I will write you back. And he said, okay. So the next morning I got up early because I had responsibilities. I had to get back to work.
Well, she had an 8-hour drive.
I had a long drive. So I got up really early and left. And I waited 4 days and no letter came. So I got impatient. So I wrote him back.
No,
I wrote to him because he hadn't written me yet. And right as I wrote him, he was writing me and letters crossed in the mail. And that began a thing of writing each other every day.
For 6 months.
For 6 months, we wrote each other every single day. I would get up in the morning and stop at the post office on the way to work, pick up his letter. At night, I would take it home, read it, write my response, drop it off the next morning. This went on for 6 months until one day I got a very short note that said, would there be anything wrong with talking on the phone?
Pia didn't give me her phone number, which I respected. I thought it was a little bit protective, but
I was a lot of protective.
so I wrote that terse short note, and the next letter, I guess 2 days later, she gave me 3 phone numbers. I called her and she said, I have a client meeting, which she did sometimes in the evenings when she was at home after being in her office at work. She said, I can't talk now, but can you call me in a couple of days? And I said, well, actually, a couple of days is your birthday. Can I call you on your birthday? She said, that would be great. So we said goodbye hastily. And I called her 2 days later. And I just said, right from the beginning of the conversation, I said, I love you. Will you spend the rest of your life with me?
And I immediately said, I love you too. And yes, I will.
So
that was it.
The next morning, I told the co-owner of the gallery that I was going to take a little trip and that I wouldn't be around for a week or so. And I drove to where she was in a different state. And we had an electric week together. And it was the holiday season. And I said, I should be back at the gallery. This is an important time for the gallery. And I said, would you rather spend Christmas together or the New Year together? And my birthday happens to be New Year's Eve. And I said, I probably should be at the gallery during Christmas, but I can come back for the New Year. And she said, okay. So I drove home very reluctantly. A week later, I drove back, and that was the beginning of our relationship.
How romantic. You know, the whole time you were writing, I'm thinking, how come they haven't talked on the phone? But you have to remember what era we're in too, right? Sometimes we talk on the phone, sometimes we write letters. Your era was more the writing of letters and that expressed yourself, you know, which was the beginning of your relationship. I think if you had just started talking on the phone, it takes the romance out of the letters, you know, the interest.
Absolutely. And elaborating on what you just said, we got to know each other by writing those letters without speaking, without touching, without being in each other's presence. We got to know each other in ways that most new couples don't go as deeply. I mean, we talked about everything personally, everything professionally. So when we actually got together those 6 months later, we knew each other more deeply than any probable romantic couple who get together and they're in each other's faces, they're touching, they're doing all these things. We bypassed that and went deeper, deeper, deeper before we actually got together. It was an amazing experience.
Well, I think that's part of the deep intimacy that lasts through relationships. Other things fade. It's that deep bonding intimacy that I think is overlooked in many relationships, which is why I'm single, because I haven't found that yet. So that's, you know, the physical can come and go. It's that intimate heart connection that and people say, Sandy, maybe your expectations are too high. And I went, I can't, I will not sacrifice my heart. I'd rather be by myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting that you just brought that up. Both of us, after having been in long relationships, both of us were living independently alone, becoming our own best friends. And I know you understand this because of your lifestyle. We did not expect to recouple. We did not expect to have a relationship probably ever again. And I think that is one of the reasons why it happened. We weren't looking.
Mhm.
If people are looking, they're probably not going to meet the person they want to meet. It has to happen in an organic, more deeply spiritual way than just meeting someone on the street and, you know, having that immediate understanding that, oh yeah, I think I should connect with this person. We had chosen to work on ourselves for X number of years. And I think that really helped us to be available when we met.
And I actually wrote my first book about relationships and being in harmony with nature. It's called Sacred Retreat, and it's about taking that time to be with yourself, honoring the cycles of nature, who you are becoming, and how to choose relationships that are based on respect, giving the depth time to grow. So it's been important to both of us forever.
Yeah. This was a really long story to explain to you and your listeners how we got together.
Well, no, because this is all about getting to know you, because I'm sure a lot of people have you on and immediately want to go into channeling. And Spirit was telling me, no, you're supposed to get to know them and let the audience get to know them. We can bring that up later. Right. Okay.
Yes.
So that's all cool. Well, I mean, I'm still laughing at the co-owner of the gallery, because I feel like I can see like one of the guides kind of coming in and pushing him really hard, like, hey, give him the keys. What? No, what are you talking about? Give him the key. And he's just automatic reacting. And then you're reacting back. I mean, it's like out of a movie scene. No, you do it. No, you do it. I'm not doing it. You do it.
Yeah.
And it was all because you were supposed to have the first glance at her.
Yes.
And that's where an energetic connection was occurring.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Also,
that was initiation and igniting.
Yes.
A little interwoven piece too is that my friend has no memory of telling me to go to the galleries. None.
Yeah.
So that was also, I am certain,
It was,
spirit driven.
Yes.
Told it to this friend, tell her to go up here.
yeah, it was engineered. There's no doubt.
So with you being together now and having this heartfelt intimacy of being together for so many lifetimes, probably, even though that you're sort of opposites living under the same roof now, how does spirit come through? Now, I get the yin and yang balance because we're all yin and yang, right? But perhaps it was because of the fine tuning of each person's yin and yang that brought forth this. Is it a Pleiadian group? Is that what LAARKMAA is?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's a whole group of beloved beings?
When they introduced themselves to us, they said, we are one of six and six of one. And we looked at each other and I don't know if we said it out loud or we just thought it. What the heck does that mean? One of six and six of one. And they went on to explain, we are six individual energies like a human family, but we work together in consort for the highest outcome, for the highest good of all. So we're six beings that work together so closely that we're always in agreement of what we're going to do, what we're going to say, how we're going to act. And we thought that's pretty cool. That's unity consciousness. That's building community. That's really what humanity should be doing here on this planet, this realm of experience.
And the eight of us, the six of them and the two of us making the energy of eight, I think is highly significant because eight is the number of connection. It's the infinity loop if you look at an eight on its side, and it's absolutely the number of connection. So I think the Pleiadians chose, particularly in all of our parallel existences, to have the team of eight working together.
Well, I also think the power of you two, both of you individually connected in this way, has a lot of unique power to it because, we hear of someone either being solo and they're channeling and then later have to find a spiritual partner who understands or supports or vice versa. And it's usually the woman, not the man, that this occurs to. So to have this complete balance of the feminine masculine within both of you uniting into this universal expansion of consciousness called LAARKMAA, I think is more powerful. And I'm sure they knew this because they've already been working with you on other lifetimes together. And then you came in awake. You came in awake knowing that this was not going to be, you may not have known this particular thing, but you weren't at all shocked.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, I was really very involved with Pan and Pan's kingdom when I was a child. And growing up, communicating with Pan, I thought I would be an ambassador or a speaker of the natural kingdom. I thought that's what I would end up doing. And when that didn't happen, I wasn't really disappointed. But when LAARKMAA came through, I thought, oh, it wasn't supposed to be the natural world here on planet Earth. It was supposed to be a bigger cosmic interstellar connection. And it made perfect sense to me.
But we do now, in the times that are unfolding, we do now have colleagues of LAARKMAA who also will come through. We have inner earth beings, we have Arcturians, we have a group called Monitor. The Divine Feminine comes through with Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene. The Angelic Kingdom. We have a lot of different, what we call voices from the light, that are here to share and help humanity to evolve.
Often,
so it's grown.
Often when LAARKMAA is speaking in public, if we're doing a workshop or a weekend presentation or in a podcast, LAARKMAA will be speaking through us and they will say, we're going to pause. We are going to step back because there's another energy that wishes to speak. And so there's a slight pause, and then someone else, like Pia just described, will begin to communicate. And it's really fascinating because they're all telling us the same thing.
Different perspectives,
but it's
wisdom.
It's the same truth about love is the highest energy in the universe. And they all have a different way of explaining it, but basically they're saying the same thing, simply in different languages or different terminologies.
Yes, of course, because most of us don't really know what love is here on earth because it's been based upon, well, a lot of programming. And then also, it's nothing's unconditional. It's always conditional, right? You know, nothing in the world is free. It's never free, right? But things can be, and there can be a lot of unconditional love if you choose to be on that frequency. And I think it's an override mechanism that many people need to learn how to hit and get there, because we are creatures of habit, and we can no longer carry these programs that have been passed down to us. Even in our current environment, we can change the way we think about things and respond to things and move over into the heart center. I know many years ago, Spirit showed me, like, people were talking about the poles changing, right? And they showed me more like a compass, and they were like ego and heart, and they were like shifting it like a compass. And they were saying to me, this has been primary thus far. This is now going to be primary. This will be secondary. And then this is going to shrink. And I was like, okay. So I had to kind of go out there and like train myself into just accepting love for what is in this very moment, even if it might be an imperfection to someone else. How can I just be in the space of love? Then how can I learn how to emanate it, like around my body, and just walk into my life with it and hold that energy? So I think we're missing a lot of what real love honestly is, and it doesn't have to be as complicated as many make it.
I
Absolutely.
think that's very well said.
Yeah, I think you,
that brilliantly.
yeah, I think the way you just spoke that truth, everybody could change their lives simply by understanding what you just brought forward. It's all about unconditional love. It's all about not hoping that someone's going to love us. It's about loving ourselves first. When we completely develop in that sense of loving ourselves, that's when we're able to go out into the world and spread that love and be more compassionate, be more filled with empathy, be more filled with the things that really, truly are heart-centered. And if more people realize this, the world would change overnight.
Mhm.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. Unfortunately, I think we're still in that percentage of people wanting to live the life that's already been preordained for them, and they don't have the courage to step out of it, or enough teachers giving the wisdom that doesn't sound so off the cliff, you know, that they could gradually move into. But some people need to jump off the cliff because they're not living in a harmonious life, and their physical and mental body is telling them that.
Well,
You know?
it's guided by either love or fear. If they're afraid to step forward, they can't expand and grow. If they trust, then they can make that leap into love that is unconditional. But if they allow the fear to control or rule their life,
Mhm.
they're just going to hold back and shrink because they're not willing to expand.
Well, how can we help people step into more love?
I
Well,
think by not judging where they are, by accepting that you're doing the best you can, and you might want to think about this, or you might want to feel into that, and just giving them little pieces that they can feel comfortable with. LAARKMAA is really, really good with that. People, when we do personal sessions for the first time, will often say, I'm really nervous, I'm afraid. And we will tell them quite quickly, LAARKMAA has no judgment, and they will only give you what you need. And it's up to you to have this conversation. And then they relax a little bit, and LAARKMAA gives them tools to work with, emotionals, how to use emotions. They give them the tools they need in any area in their life to help them make those steps.
but I think, go ahead, you're not
I was
finished.
going to say, but that's the private sessions. In the public way, they're reaching out all the time, providing more and more things for people to feel into, discover, explore.
I think to answer your question from my heart's point of view more directly is, how can we do this? How can we help people? I think teaching by example is the best way. If we're living a life filled with love, if we're leading a life filled with generosity, if we're leading a life filled with compassion, people see it, people feel it, and they want to expand themselves to be like that. So I think whenever anyone is out in public, if they simply are kind, if they smile at people, if they show an interest in people, it makes a difference. Pia and I have adopted a way of being in public. If we see someone that apparently is having a tough day or just having a bad hair day, we will approach them and we will simply say something like, "You have a really nice smile," or "We can feel the energy emanating out of your eyes." Simple little things
That are true.
but it opens people up. I mean, the reactions we get are, some people will immediately start crying and going, "You really see me, don't you?" Or "Thank you. I really needed that boost today." Things like that. That's simply teaching by example, just showing people that they are supported, they are loved, that the world maybe isn't as awful or hard or challenging as it seems on an everyday basis.
And look what we just did, something very interesting. You, who usually take everything from the outside and bring it in, and I, who usually do everything from the inside and bring it out, you just answered the question from the inside outward, and I answered the question from the outside inward. Look at that.
I kind of picked up on that, but I'm just getting the biggest chuckle out of the bad hair day, because there are so many people walking around with resting bitch face because they're having a bad hair day. So I'm just seeing you walk up and go, "You have a very pretty smile. Don't worry about that bad hair. Don't you worry about your hair. Look at that smile. Focus on that smile."
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so simple to be kind. It doesn't take any energy. It doesn't, we don't have to force ourselves. We don't have to make ourselves be in a better mood just to be kind. Kindness is just part of all of us. We're so wound up every day in our particular package of challenges, the chaos we're involved with. And all we have to do is slow down and step away from that just a little bit. And as we do that on a daily basis, we can see that, wow, maybe the world and the universe is a little bit more supportive than I thought. Maybe someone's going to come up to me and be kind instead of mean. It's an interchange that's so simple, and it doesn't cost any energy. It's just there.
Yeah, very well said, because acts of kindness is compassion and love. And when you're really in love and living a loving life, you're naturally happy, and you're going to respond in kind to other people, even if it's just your soft energy. Your energy is softer versus, "I got to go 10 and 2. Here's my daily routine. Get out, everybody get out of the way. This is my life. I'm the most important thing." And they're driven with this whole matrix of the way life has been taught to us, which to me never made any sense. Even in my teens, I would say, "Mom, this doesn't make any sense. Why would you graduate college and then go out and live your life, and then you have to wait till you're 65 to enjoy it? None of this life just doesn't make any sense to me." And she'd always just, "Sandy, you have too many questions. You're so inquisitive." And I'll never stop. I will never stop. I want to figure it all out. And if I myself feel low in any way, shape, or form, I go back to the place of gratitude. Thank you for the recognition of just knowing that I'm not feeling my best, right? But I have an ability to make it different. So it's my choice on which gear I stay in. And I always choose the upper gear. And it's never grinding the clutch to get there, so to speak. I have no idea where that just came from. They just show me that, like you're trying to force it into second and third gear. No, it just automatically does it. Well, you guys, I could talk to you all day, every day, but I know you've got a busy schedule. Nice. I heard you say you do private sessions and group sessions. You've got your books. Everybody can find you at LAARKMAA.com, which I will have in the description. What else would you like to add to our audience today?
Well, you just brought up something about when we're maybe at our lowest ebb, we're not having the best day, and the choice is always there, as you just described. LAARKMAA likes to talk about this topic actually quite a bit. They say when we're at the lowest ebb of our moods or our emotions, the best way to get out of that is simply to be of service. If you're not having the best day that you would like to be having, step out of whatever that mood or that emotional place is and do something for someone else. Go out into the world, whether it's you're walking down the street and a dog or a cat comes up to you, just reach out and pet them. If a person comes up to you, instead of not acknowledging them or being grumpy, start a conversation, do something that helps someone else. That will automatically bring our own vibration back up. So being of service is always a way to not only bring our vibration up, but as we bring ours up, it ripples out and it brings everybody else's vibration up simultaneously.
That service piece is really, really important because it takes the emphasis off of ourself and our own misery or whatever we're thinking. And the other piece that I would say that LAARKMAA continually tells people is what you feel needs to be acknowledged, but then you need to stop and think about what you're feeling and ask the question, is that really true? Because oftentimes the thoughts just get into a rut. It's the same old thing of judgment and blame. And if you stop and think, is that really true? You'll be given one of two directions to go. Your emotions are telling you to make a change, and the change is either change your perspective or get out of the situation, one or the other. Always.
Well, it makes total sense. And, I always feel like, and I believe that moods are a choice. They can be a choice, right? You always have a choice, no matter what. And those people that stay in those moods and they're always, the downers or, life's coming at them and things are in crisis mode, I just tell them to go hug a cactus.
That's a great one.
Just go hug a cactus and let me know how you feel after that. Because everything in my life is humorous, sometimes a little scary, but it gets people to think, oh, no, I don't want to go hug a cactus. That would hurt. I go, yeah, but I feel like I'm hugging a cactus right now while you're talking. It's like, it's painful, because nobody wants to hear you dump all that stuff on everyone else. We need to get back into this physical avatar and learn how to operate it, because this is the only vehicle we've got to maneuver and navigate through this world. And it's your choice and how you deliberately live your life, or you just go with the flow and you're easily influenced by everything around you. You're not going to be the anchor that spirit is within you asking you to do, because we're always just weebling and wobbling. And that's how we bounce out of love. That's how we bounce into judgment. That's how we bounce into fear and separation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. You're right. You're absolutely right. We always have a choice. People think that they can't get out of whatever circumstance they're in. They don't feel like they can find an avenue to change what's happening that they don't like. And it's quite obvious that everybody has some sense of a choice. They can do something else. They can stop what they're doing. They can create something new. We always have a choice. And that is why changing our perspective is so important, because if something's not working the way we want it to, if we just tweak the perspective of, is there a different way? Is there another way to look at this? Is there another way to to get around this problem or this stumbling block. The choice is always there. It's so simple, but we live in a habitual state of thinking we don't have that choice. And if we open ourselves up to those choices, it changes everything.
Yeah, and I think no matter if you walked into it or you were thrown into it, however you want to look at it, you're still participating. So your choice is, do I stay here and continue to participate? You know, whether I consciously or unconsciously got myself here, or am I going to spend the time on the unconscious and conscious thought that isn't going to resolve anything? Or do I look at it, I'm here, how do I back out of this? This isn't good. This isn't making me happy. This isn't good for those that are around me. And retreat back and go back into the repatterning inwardly, connect with your heart and come back out.
Yep.
It's always about connecting with your own heart, because that's how you connect with everyone and everything in this world, is through the heart, not through what we think, not through how we judge. All those things are pathways of separation. The heart is the avenue to connection.
Yeah, LAARKMAA is very fond of saying the heart is our only safe place. It is the place where all the wisdom resides, all the information we need is in our heart space. And everybody, and you talked about this early on in this conversation today, everybody's looking outside of themselves for the answers. The answers are all inside of us. All we have to do is quiet down, listen, and the wealth of what we're looking for outside of us is right there waiting to speak to us. We just have to slow down, quiet our minds, and the information, the wisdom will pop up, and it will be so liberating. It'll be so freeing for us.
It is so freeing. I mean, I feel like I live it. I feel like you guys live it in a different way, of course, but it's there's nothing better than being in love with yourself. And I'm serious. It might sound like so conceited, but I tell people just try it. Just try it. You might get addicted and love it and never change, but that's okay. You know, but you know, I love myself and who I am here on this earth. And I naturally live by being in service. And when I view some people around me who are in this stuck gear of something, I can't change that. I can only work with myself around it so that I don't interfere with their life path either, because I'm not here to solicit or convert or get up on a soapbox and change. I kind of let people do it, and I just work my energy around that to be adaptable. That's without getting too irritated.
Yes. And well, Sandra, you said something really important about how important it is to fall in love with yourself. Actually, when you fall in love with yourself, you're loving everybody else. LAARKMAA's, one of their favorite principles to share is under the word in Lakesh, which is a Mayan word that means I am another yourself. So if you're in love with yourself, you're automatically in love with everyone else also.
Because we're all connected.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that in. Thank you for reminding us that just loving ourselves is loving everything.
Yes.
And so if you can't do it for yourself, do it for everyone else.
Yes.
Just try it, step into it, because it's kind of a sacred oath that you made before you came in, and that's do no harm. Do no harm. And if you stay in the words of love, you will do less harm than you would if you weren't.
You are speaking LAARKMAAese right now. When they speak to the public or in a private session, they say there are 2 points that are so important to guide us. The first one is in Lakesh that Pia just mentioned, the Mayan term, I am another yourself, or you are another me. The other one is a Sanskrit word, an ancient word that is ahimsa. And ahimsa is simply what you just described. It means do no harm. So if you use those 2 tenets, those 2 guidelines in Lakesh and ahimsa, we can't go wrong, because we're loving ourselves, we're treating other people in the way we want to be treated. And at the same time, we're not causing any harm to anybody, any being,
Any being, anybody, anything,
any animal, any plant.
including ourselves, not judging ourselves either. That do no harm has to go inward as we're loving ourselves, as well as outward to every choice we make. Are we harming the earth? Are we harming the animals? Are we harming the plants? Are we harming other people? It's an inner and outer. It has to be do no harm to everything and everyone.
So if we only use those two guidelines in living our lives, we'd be not only creating a foundation for ourselves, but by teaching by example through living like that, we're showing people without judging them, without pushing them, as you just said. Our aim is not to change people. Our aim is to help people wake up, to see the truth of the real reality that we live in, not what we've been taught. I have a favorite phrase that I've written about and talked about for years. We've all had bad training, all of us. And that bad training has come from family, government, religion, medicine, who you can name all of the places where bad training has put us into a space of total confusion because we believed all these things we were told because they said, this is the truth. And the good training comes from inside. The good training comes from the heart. And if we switch that around, we will create a completely different world, not only for us personally, but for everyone else.
Yeah, and again, we train our bodies to hit override.
Yes.
Like I'm not going to be in that program. It's not working for me. I want to hit override. I'm gonna skip over here. But I can see myself flying into rooms and situations and realizing I might not be able to give it as much love as I want and retreating because I just need to go love myself. Hold on, you guys. I need to go love myself some more before I get in the middle of this. You guys, this has been so much fun. Again, I could talk. I have no time restriction today. I could talk forever. I just want our audience to really get to know you, and I want you to come back and maybe we could bring in LAARKMAA. I'm actually wanting to know more about this group because I've lived decades of my big motto has always been do no harm. That's with your eyes, that's with your thought, that's with your mannerisms. That's with you not taking the time to maybe realize someone's hurting and they need you, kind of thing. So it's always been do no harm. And that's to anything. That's to a countertop. I sit outside now and the bees come land on me. They don't sting me. They just come walk on me. And I'm just like, okay, guys, I got to get up now. You're going to have to move. Or I say, don't move around where you freak me out. And I automatically swat and I don't mean to. Because there's a response that we all have to be, and it's a self mechanism for survival, is to get everything we think is going to harm us away from us.
Well, that is actually a really important idea that you just brought up. All energies are capable of feeling what's going on in us. If we're afraid of a bee, that fear is going to cause them to have a like kind of sense about, if they're afraid of me, maybe I should be afraid of them. So if we let them just walk on our hands or our arms or our head, we're showing them that we're not afraid. They don't need to be afraid. And that creates an equal energy between us.
And that can take us into a whole nother conversation for another time, but we also do that with all the animals. We actually play with wild bears, and we have great connections with all kinds of beings that other people are frightened of. So we can hold that for another conversation, but it's just part of what you're talking about, do no harm, and the other beings feel that we will not intend them any harm.
That's species communication that most humans don't understand, that if we're beaming no fear out, if we're only beaming out love, whatever other energy that we're contacting is going to feel it, and that they are not going to react to a fearful energy coming towards them. And it makes a world of a difference. We would love to continue this conversation to bring LAARKMAA to you and to your audience and talk about things that we think would be important to have a sharing with.
I would love that. And we're going to get that scheduled. So in the meantime, Pia and Cullen, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know you guys are so busy traveling. Any upcoming engagements going on the next month or two?
We've got a few more things we're doing locally in Sedona that are coming up. Not concrete yet, but we're working on it. And as far as travel, undisclosed at this moment because nobody has given us the indication this is where you need to be. But when we'll go.
We will announce it.
Okay, great. So people can find you on YouTube. They can find you at LAARKMAA.com, which I'll have in the description, show notes. Any place else people can find you?
There's also a website under my name, Pia Orleane, PIARLEANE.com.
Mm-hmm.
With things like intuitive guidance and Pleiadian astrology charts to let people know what their energy is, and health consultations, just a different branch of our work.
Great. Well, I will make sure that I put all that into the description. So viewers, if you're interested in a session, you want to know a little bit more about how to contact yourself, be more in the presence of developing your own self-love and emanating that out, the world would be a better place one person at a time. And it starts with you individually. So much love, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Keep It Spiritually Simple. Please remember to subscribe. We always appreciate your likes and your comments. So stay put, you guys, but say goodbye to the audience.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye for now.